Well, hello, son of mine, or not. um, I just got back from church. I went to the Methodist church for their Christmas cantata, and I just kind of wanted to visit with you a little bit about it. They had little children, singing, um, some of the Christmas carols. They were in their little robes, and none of them were smiling. So I prayed for them, and I sent them lots of love. But I prayed that they would not lose what they were born with, which I think is a divine connection. I think we're born kind of knowing it all. And I thought of you, and you maybe never understood why I didn't take you to church. It's because I was in that choir and I was little, and they told me all kinds of stuff, and not all of it rang true to me. I remember being elementary school, early years, and they were talking about how if you didn't accept Jesus as your Savior, you were going to hell. I knew we had missionaries who went to Africa and other places to, quote, tell them about Jesus and make sure that they accepted him as their Savior, invited him into their hearts. And I asked, well, because they were saying, if you didn't, you were going to go to hell. I I didn't get to ask much, about things, but something made me say or ask, hey, we have these missionaries that are going to go tell little children and people about Jesus. Well, what about those that hadn't gotten to yet, like little children, and maybe they don't even know about Jesus? Are they going to go to hell? And they said yes. And I'm sitting there, I was raised not to talk back or argue, but thinking that's just not true. That's not who God is. That is not who God is. So your upbringing may have been confusing too, because I didn't take you. I don't know which is better, be indoctrinated and then kind of have to let go of what you learned, or better kind of just to go where you feel led when you did with your friends, maybe me, and kind of figure it out on the inside. I do know that God is in you. I know that God has been in you since the day you were born. I always said that I knew, you were good, from the very start, and that probably had very little to do with me. I sure tried to be good. uh, I mean, good person. Um, didn't mean I didn't struggle. Didn't mean that I didn't drink too much, at times. Or do. I sure wasn't perfect. None of us are. But anyway, it was interesting. These hymns that are so beautiful, and the people, in there participating who are so beautiful. I could see their light and the love. Not all of them, but most. And this whole Christmas thing, I kind of get a little bit more why you had trouble with it. I mean, first is the commercialization, but beyond that, Jesus never asked to be worshiped. He didn't. He just asked that we follow him. Same is true for Buddha, and I'm sure you probably know all that. So, it's kind of much ado, maybe, about the wrong things. Um, the other thing I'll just say, and maybe you just don't even care to know what I think. But, as time has gone on, I kind of already felt that way. Jesus is already here. There's not going to be, don't think, I could be wrong, some big second coming, in the sky. It's, the more we learn, there was a whole lot of editing to that Bible, and I bet you know because you're smart and you, I'm sure, research things, and I'm sure, you're looking for your own truth. But, it's just strange. I'd love to be talking to you about all this. We were lied to about Thanksgiving and, other terrible things that we have done. I didn't know the truth about the Civil War until I moved west and found out it wasn't about state rights like they always said in school. I was wanting to have the South Shall Rise Again parties for those of us who were transplants from the Deep South until somebody explained it to me, and then I felt so ashamed. They lied to us about Thanksgiving and the terrible things we did to the indigenous peoples. We did terrible things to people of color. We did terrible things to women. We did terrible things to little kids, by putting them in factories. And men, mostly white men, and I'm glad you're one of the many exceptions, just changed the Bible to make sure there was no reference to the divine feminine. I talked to God, universe, source, creator for a long time this morning, and I'm like, how come nobody told me there was a Sophia? How come nobody told me that Mary Magdalene wasn't a prostitute? And that I knew kind of, the more I've studied the Bible, she was Jesus' favorite disciple. But she was an equal. Anyway, I think of you a lot these days as I learn more. And I love that you think. You were right about capitalism. I mean, big time. And the way you wanted to live your life, at the time when I was kind of in the throes of defending it all, was something I kind of didn't understand. But of course, as things are kind of disintegrating, we see the wrongs, don't we? And how upside down things are. You're a deep thinker. You're smart, and you're kind of ahead of your time. I think about that a lot. I would love to have great conversations with you, about all this, about maybe where we go from here, your thoughts. I know once upon a time you wanted to try to fix our medical system. I pray that you have insurance. My heart's breaking for friends whose premiums are increasing like $900 a month for a couple, and they don't have it, and they do so much good in the world. I've kind of accepted, where you and I are or aren't. It's kind of that, serenity prayer, accepting that which you cannot control, kind of trusting that, it's just the way it's supposed to be. But I do want you to know that I admire so many things about you. You know who you are. I know your heart's good. You have helped the unhoused. They still have a special place in my heart. I stopped on my way back from church, and visited with my neighbors. They are my neighbors. They just don't have a roof over their heads. Anyway, I'd love to know what you think's going to happen next, um, and how, if anything, we turn this around. I kind of tried all the conventional stuff, getting the right people elected, voting, getting out the vote. In younger years, volunteering in different organizations, in church, outside church, even here, jumping in here and there and sideways. But none of the traditional ways are working. I think maybe, and I don't know, it kind of comes back to our being our best and highest selves, and kind of trying to share that with others. I mean, not in a proselytizing way, but by example. Just loving, the best we can. I don't know. I do know that I'm ready for a change. And I think that we're all set for a change. I think that, doors are closing to our past to make room for whoever it is we need to be going forward. Anyway, I don't know either if I told you about seeing your picture with Trey that your daddy sent me. You look so alive. You do. Your eyes are shining. You've got a beautiful light around you. You look happier and maybe healthier than I've ever seen you. I mean, honey, I hope it means you're in love. I thought about that. That maybe you're looking at somebody you adored, the right person. I still hope that will happen for you. I do. You didn't really, I don't think, get nailing me. Because, you heard some of the crap. And it's not an excuse, but I did too. I didn't know, really, kind of makes sense that we shouldn't really talk to y'all about it. I knew every little detail, about mom and daddy. And kind of didn't realize that maybe I didn't need to know all that, until I was kind of trying to heal myself. But, it's really, honey, those long term things like that. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's about being in love, but it's about growing. And you got to be the right person to do that. It's about sticking it out, no matter what. There were times, as you know, that I just wanted to throw my hands in the air and just say, I'm done. I'm sure Neil had times like that. But there's something to be said for not, He told me a whole long time ago, and then I'm going to end this, because, my feelings kind of had changed a little while after I got married. And I was so young. I was just like, I think the marriage is over. And he's like, well, why do you think that? And I said, because, I don't have those butterflies kind of like I did every time you walked in the room. He started laughing and he said, Teresa, we're just getting started. And he said, we're going to fall in love over and over again. And he said, there are going to be times that you're going to look at me and think, what the heck did I do? I don't even like this man at all. I don't like anything about him. I may even just whatever him. And he said, and then I'm going to say something, or I'm going to do something. And you're going to go, oh my God, I can't live without this man. And that's what it was like. That's what it was like. I don't know really how much he loved me. I think that he did. But what I do know, as I think back on all the different relationships, is how much I loved him. I loved him enough to deal with, his temper and his drinking and even his infidelity. I mean, not after he got married, but he kind of did some stuff he shouldn't have done, before. um, but I loved him, Tyler. Oh boy, did I love him. I had some of my most incredible spiritual experiences with him, shared and alone, and it came from that love that I had. So, in the whole scheme of things, I think that all we know is, and maybe all that matters, is that we know that we did love. Um, when he was diagnosed and they said he wasn't going to live, I had never dreamed, that I'd leave. But kind of down the road, not too long after, I just thought, you know what, Teresa, even if you wanted to, as a decent human being, you can't. You can't do something like that to somebody. And so that put a little pressure on. But it could have played games with my mind, but it didn't. Between you and him, I don't think I've ever enjoyed conversations with people as much as you two, and connected. Um, I'm grateful for what I had, with him. I know that I don't think he had ever been loved before. His mom kind of, kind of had her own things. And she had a tough time, when she was married to his daddy, because he was kind of a serial cheater. And they were going through the depression and all kinds of things. And it wasn't kind of her personality to be real, kind of affectionate. So I do know that Neil felt loved. And maybe for the first time in his life. And I think in so many ways I did, because he didn't judge me. I might, he might get mad at me about stuff, but for the most part, he was a great cheerleader, and he set me free, from so many things I had been taught and so many limitations that society and culture and other things imposed on me. Anyway, I'm just talking. This is another one of those things I may send to you, I may not. I just left that church thinking about you and like why I didn't have you up there in a choir robe, and why I kind of didn't want you indoctrinated. I am sorry that I didn't know more, back then. And I still am growing, that way. Still kind of trying to figure it out. But I do know that the divine lives within. And I do believe what Jesus said about this and more you'll do in my name. I do. That's like when I was seeing those people doing Hannah Kroger's work. That was simple faith. It was just like he said we could, so we're gonna, and you're gonna be all right. I may be getting back to that. I don't know yet. I think kinda, I'm gonna be kind of going maybe down a more spiritual path. I'm craving being with people who are thinking kind of like I do. Anyway, I wish you well on your journey. And I hope you are in love. And if you're not, maybe you're just in love with life like me. I mean, I don't know how I can, given, the losses, but there's something deep inside of me. I'm just like resilient. And I think it got so ingrained in me when Neil was sick for so long and could die any day that any of us can, that I can. And it's really hard for me after going into the depths like I did and not wanting to be here to ever let myself get there again. So I try so hard to choose joy and gratitude every day and peace where I can. And I'm still in love with life. I'm still in love with life. It's all the little things. Uh, I found rose ice trays. And you would have thought that I don't know what I had discovered. I got so excited about the fact that you didn't have to have, rectangular ice cubes. And that there's a myriad of ice shapes you could have to make drinks look pretty, when you had company. And my company, mostly older women, just get so excited, that they got a rose ice cube in their glass. I saw a monarch butterfly on the way back from church. I had to stop and watch it. I stopped and visited with one of my house friends. I connected with other people. It's a short walk. And I know y'all used to get out and done with me, and I'm so sorry I wasn't more present. I do better these days. I know we walk on the beach and I have to talk to everybody. I do love people. I do. But I'm doing much better with all that. I don't answer my phone. I usually don't even turn it on if I'm with somebody. I don't even take it with me a lot anymore. Now that there's not anybody really who's going to call me if they have an emergency. So it's not like it used to be, or I'm not counseling cancer patients anymore. Mayo kind of shut that down. And that was good. Like Dr. Sutton said, it's time to let somebody else have a turn. Anyway, I don't know if I'm trying to show you my view a little bit. I'm getting a lot of glare. Anyway, oh well. Anyway, I love you, honey. Always will. And send love to you. I'm okay. I am okay. Um, I want you to be okay. And it looks like you are. It looks like you're in your happy place. And that's good.